Hi, Hallie. Um, you said you had a question about Keithville. I'm trying to remember what the problem was that you needed help with. I think it was 6 to the nearest percent. What fraction of the population IQ is between 85 and 115? Yeah, that sounds right. So, all right, let me see if I can share my screen with you. Whiteboard. Let's do that. We'll do it the way the book teaches first, with some mathematical computing and whatnot. All right, so it says to the nearest percent, what fraction of the population has IQs? Yeah, we're looking for an IQ that's between 85, so it's got to be bigger than 85, and 115. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And it says the mean IQ, or the mu, is going to be 100. And the standard deviation is 15. All right, so looking at this, the only real formula that I know that we've learned so far that uses the information that we have here is going to be the normal curve one, because it's got a mu and a standard deviation. Now, in the past, the problem I helped you with before, instead of giving us the mu and the standard deviation, it gave us the sample size and the proportion of good items. And we had to come up with mu and standard deviation on our own. But in this case, it gives us mu and standard deviation. So it cuts back on some of the work. So what we have to do is find a z-score and then look at our charts in the back. So the first thing we're going to do is look for that z-score. And remember, the z-score is going to be your x minus your mu divided by your standard deviation. Okay, what is our x? Well, that's a very good question, Hallie. What is our x? Well, in order to determine what our x is, we have to figure out, well, what kind of chart are we going to be using? So we need to look at some of the charts in the back of the book with z-scores. And so there's two kinds of charts that they have here. One is going to have a normal curve that says 0, and then it says z, and this is colored in. So that's one type of chart, one type of information you can get from the chart. And the other says z, and everything is colored in over here. All right, so the information you get from this chart here, which is called Table C, and it says from 0 to Z in the big black bar across the top. This is found on page 465, and it's from 0 to Z. 0 is in the center if your z-score was 0. From 0 to whatever you look up, this is what's colored in. Now, so the number that it gives you is a decimal, and it'll translate to this percentage of whatever population fits right here in this curve nicely. Okay, so when you have the next one over is table C, that one was table D, or table C. This one is table D, and it's page 467, and it's from, what's it say? From negative infinity to Z. So you see it goes from this over here is negative infinity, and it goes all the way to Z. And remember, if you want to find what's over here, you'd look up the negative Z score. All right, because they're, flip-flopped. I think that's the one. Yep, negative Z score. All right, so there's two different things that you can look at. Since we're looking for an IQ that's between two numbers, we're going to have a normal curve. And we want to know what's between 85 and 115. This is going to be that middle. So we need some information here and here. So there's a few ways that you could complete this information. You can look at there's no need for us to look at table D at all in any way. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that information because we don't need that chart for what we're looking for, because our information is between two numbers. We cannot go to infinity, and table D takes you to infinity in one of the directions. So what we need is, this is 0 to Z, or 0 to what? 115. And then this other side over here is going to be 0 to 85. So you can pick either of these numbers. Oops, I chose the wrong thing. Here we go. You can choose either of those numbers, 85 or 115, to figure out what this is going to be. If you notice, well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do 115 minus 100 divided by 15. Plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 1. Do you remember what a z-score is? A z-score means how many standard deviations away from the mean are you looking to go? So if we're going 1 standard deviation away from the mean, that's one standard deviation, or that's going to be a deviation of 15. So from this is our mean, 100, 1 standard deviation to get to 115. Well, if you notice, 85 is also 1 standard deviation away from 100. So if it's 1 standard deviation, both of our z-scores are going to be 1. Okay? So it's the first thing to notice. Your z-score is 1. Keep turning that off. Not used to having that down at the bottom. So our z-score is 1. So when we look up a z-score of 1, we want to look it up on table C. So table C, a z-score of 1 will give us 0.34134. Okay, a z-score of 1 yields 0.34134. Now remember, that's from 0 to 115, but it's also from 0 to 85, because they're both 1 standard deviation away. So if this covers this area and this also covers this area, to get the entire thing, what do you think we need to do? We're going to need to multiply it by 2 or add it together. So if I add those together, I'm going to get 68%, right? 0.34134. Yep. Around 68%, 68.2%. We could say 68.3, because if we added it together all the way, let's see, 68.26, and 6 would have me round up. So I'd say 68.3%. 68.3% of people's IQ are between 85 and 115. So it's one way to look at it. Now, I told you I wanted to show you another way that's going to be, oh my gracious, can you stop now? Oh, there. I didn't want to clear everything. Okay, undo. I just want a regular eraser. I don't want that there. So, one thing you should know about a normal curve, it's normal, it's standard. Everything is the same, okay? Your normal curve for, in this case, IQ is going to be the same as the normal curve for how many eggs a chicken lays, or the standard curve for how many lollipops or how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, right? So every single one of these things are going to fall under a standard curve. And the standard curve is going to have your z equals 0, z equals -1, z equals +1, right? And these are going to be the same things, z equals 2. That's not a very good straight line. It should be more like that. Z equals -2. Now, each one of these are going to have the same exact amount. And remember, we're looking for what is the percentage from here to here. So anytime you have a whole number z-score, it's going to be easy for you because you can just look up a standard z chart or normal curve chart. So let me stop that screen share and get to the internet. All right, so we are here at the internet, and I just Googled normal curve, right? Normal curve, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a normal curve. We'll choose this first link here. I'm not interested in all their teaching information. What I want is this chart right here, okay? So this chart is going to show us, this is our mu. A z-score of 0, z equals 0. This is 1 standard deviation, so it's a z-score of 1. This is 2 standard deviations, so it's a z-score of 2, and so on, z-score of 3, etc. So here your z-score is -1, -2, -3, -4. Well, that's not -4, excuse me. That's a percentage. So if we're looking from one standard deviation to the other, this whole percent right here, you can just see 34.1% plus 34.1% is going to be what? 64.2%. Now we rounded up because we had 64.16. So we got 64.3, but generally speaking, you can just look at this and say, okay, I want the 2 in the center between 1 standard deviation above, 1 standard deviation below. And that's what it's going to be. So this will come in helpful anytime your z-score is going to be a solid number. Go ahead and write this down in your notes. Keep it for future reference. Now, what percentage is between standard deviation or a z-score of 2 and 3? Well, it's 2.1%. Okay. Well, what's going to be if your z-score was 2%? Or a z-score of 2? What's greater than that? Well, you're going to add 2.1 plus 0.1, so it's going to be 2.2% to cover all of this out to infinity, out to infinity. So you can see that you can utilize this chart for a bunch of great information. So just write this chart down in your notes for future reference anytime you have